Good evening, my name is Sean. Today I'll be explaining my midterm project. So for the first program, I'm gonna run it to see show you how it executes. So it asks for a product number and a quantity. So under the product number 1, quantity is 50. Say product number 2, say 25. Number 3, 30. I'm gonna add 0 and 0 to finish the program. So basically this program the it takes two inputs from a user in pairs. Take an input in pairs from a user, the product number and the quantity. So the first int will be the product number, and then the quantity will be the second integer. There's the five product prices. So there are 5 products, and the prices are up here in the consonants. They're all consonants. So let's go through the file to see what I did here. So the first thing I did was imported the Java.util scanner, and this is required for our input to accept input from the user. And then I defined my main function, declared my consonants for all the prices for product 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then I created a scanner object to accept scanner object called input to accept inputs from the user. And I have some variables right here. I'm using product number as a sentinel value. That's why when I use 0, I use that to exit the program or finish the loop or end the loop, which we'll get to right here. So I have a loop that says while product number is not 0, then the body of the loop will run. So inside the loop we are prompting the user to enter the product number, which can only be 1 through 5, and the quantity of how much they sold of that specific product. Then we're using a switch statement that takes the product number, and we have 5 cases for each product. For the first case, we're assigning the quantity to the product 1 quantity, and then we're multiplying it to get the product 1 retail value. And we're doing the same thing for each case, but there's different products. So for case 1 is for product 1, case 2 is for product 2, and so forth. Then move on to the retail value variable, where we're calculating the total of all products. So all the quantities multiplied by their prices, and we're adding up to the retail value, which is just the total. And then if the retail value is 0, then we'll just print out end product. If not, we'll print out the retail value. And this is all this program does. Move on to the second program, and we're just going to run this program real quick to see how it executes. So this program is basically acts as like a bank account in a sense. So it takes four inputs. It takes the account number, the account type, the minimum balance, and the current balance. It then prints out the account number, account type, the current balance, and the new balance. So let's go ahead and type in some information. So I'm gonna say my account number is 497. So I'm gonna use a savings account. Then I'm gonna set the minimum balance to 1,000, and I'm gonna say I have less than the minimum balance in my account, so I'm gonna put 950. And there you have it displayed: the account number, the account type, the current balance and the new balance. So as you can see with the new balance, $10 was deducted. Now we're gonna go through the if statements and explain why this happened. So let's go to the top of the file, and again we're importing java.util scanner, java.util.scanner, which is required for input. Then created a class, and then we defined our main function. Then we move to line 6. We created an object for our inputs, and we're declaring our constants, which is a service fee, a checking service fee for checking accounts, a savings service fee for savings accounts, and different interest for both. We have some variables to hold the account number, minimum balance, the current balance, and the new balance, and the account type, which is of char data type. Then this is where we're prompting the user to enter all the information. So we're prompting them to enter the account number, the account type, the minimum balance, and the current balance. And then these commands just store the value that they enter into these variables. Right here, since we were required to declare this function as an integer, we're changing the data type to a string so that we can count the length of count the length of the account, because we don't want a user to enter any a account number less than 2 less than or equal to 2. The minimum length of an account number should be 3. So this is why we're using this if statement right here. And if this condition was true, then this text would print invalid account number, and then the system.exit function would run and it will end the program. The minimum balance cannot also not be a negative number, so it cannot be less than 0. So these are just ways to validate the user's input, and this also prints out a text that shows the user that there was an error, and then we're exiting the program and we're making sure that the user enters. And the next step we did is making sure the user enters an account type of S, which is for savings, and C for which is for check-ins. Then it does the same thing as the previous. Then now we move on to our if statements. And the first if statement that we have is saying if the minimum balance is greater than the current balance, and if that's the outer if statement. Then the nested if statements checks for the account type. If the account type is a savings or of S, then the new balance will take the current balance and deduct the savings service fee, and the savings service fee is 10. And this is why when we ran the program and we entered a value less than the minimum balance, they took the service fee of $10. If it was a check-ins account, then the service fee would be $25, and that would be deducted. So we can check it in our constants. We have $25. Okay, now we move on to how we would accrue interest. So if the current balance is greater than or equal to the minimum balance, and this of an account type, and it's a savings account, then the new balance will be the current balance plus the interest using the savings interest, and that will be the new balance. Then we're using the else if the current balance was greater than 5,000 or more than the minimum balance, and it was a check-ins account, and then we'll calculate that with a different interest. And the same thing for if it was just greater than the minimum balance, we'll use a different interest for that also. And then we're just printing out all the information. That's it for this program. For the third and last, We're gonna run through it real quick. This program it prompts you to enter the number of customers from yesterday, and then it lets you enter all the hours that they were parked for, and then it asks for the current customers, um, how long the current customer was parked for, and then it displays the current customer's charge, the current customer's fee, and yesterday's receipt of all the customers that the user entered. So now we're gonna enter the amount of customers that was on yesterday's receipt, and we're just gonna say 3. Then we're gonna enter the hours parked for each customer. So we're gonna say 3. They were parked for 3 hours. 2. Then we're gonna say 1.5, and then we're gonna say 6. Now it's time to enter the current customers. How long the current customer was parked for, and for that we're gonna say 24. And now there we have the customers charge, and then yesterday's receipt. Now the reason why this is 17.5 and not just 7.5 is because the receipt also includes the current user's charge fee inside it. So let's go ahead and go through how we did this. So we're using inputs, so we're importing the java.util scanner. Then we created our class, defined our main function, declared 2 constants, a minimum fee and an excess fee. So the minimum fee is for anybody who parked 3 hours or less. There will be a minimum fee of $2. If the customer goes over that, an excess fee will be added, which is 50 cents. Then we're creating the input object, create some other variables, hours parked, receipts, and parking fee. Hours parked hold stores whichever hours the user enters. Receipts will be a running total, and the parking fee will be the customer's fee. Then we'll move on to a for loop that loops to each customer that the user entered. Now for the number that loops for less than, what am I saying? Now we have a for loop that iterates until this condition is false. So I is less than or equal to number of customers. So until I is greater than number of customers, then this loop will keep running. So inside this loop, we're prompting the user to enter the hours for each customer. So from customer 1 to the last customer, and then we're basically we're checking what I just said in the top of the file. I was saying if the user was just parked for less than or 3 hours, then the minimum fee will be assigned to the parking fee, which is just $2, and then that fee will be added to the running total, which is receipts. Else, if the user was parked between more than 3 hours but less than 24 hours, because the maximum of hours you can be parked in the parking lot for is 24. So if it's between these two, then we're going to add the minimum fee to the excess, and then we're going to subtract the 3 hours because that calculates the minimum fee, and then we're going to times the excess by the hours parked. And then we're going to check if the hours parked is 24 hours, then the parking fee is $10. We can just assign that, and then we're adding the parking fee to the receipt to the receipts through each case or condition. And then if it's over 24, then we're printing invalid hours and we're exiting the function. And down here, we for each loop prints the customer number and their parking fee. And this is why we had when we entered 3, it calculated they said the customer 1 and their charge. And that's why, well, what did I do? Yeah. And that's basically it. And then we just print out the customer's parking fee and yesterday's receipts.